No matter what stage at life that you're currently in, your decisions shape who you become and the results that happen. Life is full of problems, and your ability to problem solve and handle stressful situations and become creative and solve situations that you didn't foresee coming is essential. You can actually systemize and automate a lot of these decisions to eliminate the bulk of the problems that you would have faced. So the question is, how do we make better conscious and better subconscious decisions? Hey guys, welcome back to the Grant Mitt Podcast, episode number 101. And I want to talk to you guys about the paradox of choice, how to become a better decision maker. No matter what stage at life that you're currently in, your decisions shape who you become and the results that happen. And what's interesting about life is I found that at every single level, whether you're starting out from scratch, whether you've been through a lot of life and you want to reinvent yourself, or you're trying to accomplish something extremely difficult, life is full of problems. And your ability to problem solve and handle stressful situations and become creative and solve situations that you didn't foresee coming is essential. But as I've become an entrepreneur, you learn how to problem solve at a really high level. Not because you're special, probably not because you were just born with that skill, but I think because you just faced a lot of problems consistently all the time. I love the saying that the only businesses that do not have problems are the ones that aren't in business. And I have friends that work at Apple and work at Amazon. Before and right when I was starting out my first company, I would talk to them. I'm like, is this normal? And they're like, man, you should see this stuff that we deal with. I'm like, what? And they would tell me all these crazy things and it would make me feel better. And decision making at every level is essential to shaping the life that you want. And so as I became a CEO and I learned and developed how to become a better one, and I'm still in that process, as I'm sure you guys are for whatever that you're trying to accomplish, learning how to make quality decisions that give you the life that you want, everybody wants at every level. And so when I was looking into this, I go, is there a better way to do this? How do I make better decisions? And each decisions, are they all shaped the same? Is there a certain strategy that works for everything? Is there a certain level that you reach that once you get there, you just know how to make these perfect decisions? And what I found as I dove into this through experience of building a business and going through challenges, through studying it further and learning from really successful leaders, business people, and successful people that have shaped the world today, is that each decision is different and it requires a different type of thinking. And I learned that you can actually systemize and automate a lot of these decisions to eliminate the bulk of the problems that you would have faced. Okay? So in general, there's two types of general thinking patterns that equates to a decision. You have conscious decision making and you have subconscious decision making. Conscious decision is through deliberate thought, through logic, through reason, and through a long process of thinking through all the multiple outcomes that could occur. Subconscious decision making is stuff that you don't even really have to think about. For example, have you ever driven to work and it's 7 or 8 in the morning and you don't even think about how to get there? You're so zoned out that you just kind of almost in a way wake up 40 minutes later and you're just at your destination. You don't even have to think, should you shift to this lane? Should you prepare for this exit? Because you've driven to work so many times before that you don't think about it. For any of you that's had a traumatic experience, have you ever had a knee-jerk reaction to someone that wasn't actually a threat or was actually a really good person, but because your last boss or your last relationship was really toxic, you kind of took it out on this person that was completely normal? That is your subconscious making a rash decision that many times is correct, but is also many times not. We have these knee-jerk reactions. And so the question is, how do we make better conscious and better subconscious decisions? So I put together 3 different things that we can analyze and set up into your life. And this is for everyone, not just a business owner, but any single person, that how you can make better decisions, right? So I want to go through these together. So the first one, and this is what I learned from running a business, is if you're just constantly making these quick decisions about, okay, this is a good person, okay, that's not a good person, okay, we're gonna do that this time, and it's just so all over the place, you get so many different inconsistencies in your life and your finances and your business that it's hard to create any momentum. What I found is in business, most companies, the ones that are good, have policies in place. Because what they did is they learned from, one, their past mistakes, and two, other companies before them, that just certain things don't work, right? Someone that has a criminal background, while they can recover, if it is of certain aspects, no matter how nice they are and no matter how great at speaking, you probably shouldn't hire them unless they have a proven track record over a long period of time of doing things the right way. It's a simple policy, right? If you think about 9/11, 9/11 happened, but since that moment, knock on wood, they haven't had another terrorist attack in the United States through commercial airlines. What did they do? No matter how nice a person, let's say I know the person at the front desk. Let's say I know the CEO of United Airlines and I'm just this great guy and I've never done anything wrong. Does that mean that they're going to go, you know what? No, this Grant guy's good. We're just going to suddenly let him not go through security. And then all of a sudden they start letting people through security. Like, oh, this is a nice, I just got coffee with him. Oh, I just saw him. He just helped that old lady walk across the street. In departures, you know what? I don't want him to be late. Let's just skip him through. He didn't have to go through security this time. Could they be right? Yeah. Could they make a right decision? In fact, I would argue they'd probably make the right decision most times because I do think most people are good. But what would happen after a period of time? Something crazy would happen because they broke policy. In the simple form, they figured out, okay, are most people good? Yes. Are most people just traveling to see family or friends or for vacation and they want to be safe like you? Yes. But does that mean we should let 100% of people through without security and without making sure that they're not bringing a weapon or they have ill intent to hurt and harm people? So, while most people don't need to be patted down and have the scanner thing go around you, if they do it to everyone, hypothetically, you could eliminate pretty much every single possible scenario. And so that was a policy that was in place. So you're not relying on a decision making of this guy seems off, their behavior is different. You've eliminated it. And so policies is something that you could shape your life. Let me give you an example. If you want to be around really, really great people and you just live in a random area, a random apartment, and you just kind of meet people, sometimes at a coffee shop, sometimes at a random gym, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not good. And this differs for each one of you because each one of you guys are different people and you want to be around different people. Instead, you could create a policy and a non-negotiable of where you spend your time, what area you live in, what gyms you go to, what restaurants you go to, what grocery stores you shop at, that also attracts the type of people that you want in your life. So let's think about how simple this could be. Instead of hoping to meet the right people, you go spend an extra $60 a month at the gym that is one of the nicest gyms that has, let's just say you're an entrepreneur, that has a ton of entrepreneurs, people who are strategic thinkers that do great things and are extremely fit, maybe even more fit than you. And then purposely, you know that the nicest part of town is in XYZ and it may cost you an extra $250 a month in rent, but you know that your neighbors are all going to be earning over a certain amount of income, which doesn't guarantee anything, but does show that they're likely smart and hardworking. And you know that all the coffee shops and grocery stores and areas, not only is it a super safe area, but you're around people that are as good or better than you. Are you going to be more likely to come across, one, a safer environment, not deal with robbery, theft, vandalism, crazy people? Let's just say you're a working person and you're out of the partying phase. You don't want to hear people partying all night. Well, it kind of makes sense that you should be in an apartment with people who are a little bit older, who are working and have families, or a neighborhood that has people that are in that similar mindset. Sometimes the decisions boil down to something that simple. Because we may go, oh, this one's cheaper, so we go get this apartment. But the ripple effect of that is you didn't stay in as nice of an area. Now your car randomly gets broken into. Now you got to deal with that. Or you're in an area where a lot of people are younger, but you did it because it was cheaper and you'll move next year. And suddenly you live around a bunch of college kids, which nothing wrong with college kids. But if you're 35 years old and you're working nonstop and you're about to get married and have kids, you probably don't want to hear live blasting music at 4 a.m. Now you're dealing with all these extra problems and stress, not because you're a bad decision maker, because after that one decision, you could have made great decisions. But because of you didn't have a policy in place on what you're accepting and what you're okay with, you're now experiencing all these other problems. I'll give you another example. It's so simple. Could you go to the absolute most dangerous neighborhood in your city and survive? I think most likely. Could you meet people down there that are probably nice people? Absolutely. But if you go there every single day for 2 years straight, based on just sheer statistics, are the chances higher that you are going to experience some type of problem compared to being in one of the safest areas of town? The answer is obvious. It's yes. So policies can put guardrails on your life and on your team and on your operation to prevent the bulk of problems from happening. When we were looking at scaling the solar business from year 1 to year 2, the biggest difference between year 1 and year 2, which doubled our revenue, and not only that, had a more clean and efficient operation with high quality people, is we discovered this. We realized that instead of having this guessing game, because let me tell you, if you're a business owner or you're a manager, you know how difficult recruiting is. And so what we realize is on the sales side, outside sales is tough, full commission. Can they make a lot of money? Yes. But what we realize is just the bulk of people can't do it. And we realized no matter how great any of the single managers were, how great our training development was, we knew the chances of success were extremely low from the point that they were hired to the point that they were in boot camp. And we started noticing certain commonalities in people who weren't successful. Number one was people who did not have the sales script memorized by day 2 never made it. And if they did make it, they'd get on to the company and they'd be so far behind that they would fail and they'd quit or they'd get fired. So what do? We set a policy that we're going to give them all the scriptings and expectations of what they're going to experience that first month. And we're going to sell them how hard it is and almost push them to quit and sit there for an hour and recap every little thing that they have to memorize. And we'd expect them to have it memorized by day 1 at a certain percentage and ready to go fully by day 2 of boot camp. So the rest of that training was all operational, structural, designing systems, the technical things that you just need to learn and it takes time. And when we did that, did we lose more reps? A decent percentage. But the reps that were passing through that boot camp, which is our training period before they actually get into the field and start selling, the performance went up, wasted time went down, and also complaints and bad, when people get fired earlier and they get really mad. Because that expectation was so there, if they didn't have it, they could not be mad at us because we set that expectation. And what we found is in the past, we would let people slide because they were cool, they were good at talking, they were likable. And every time we got proven wrong, so we just simply made it a policy. So I want you to think about this. And if you're taking notes or writing something down, or you want to pause this, put together policies that if you follow will eliminate the bulk of problems. The bulk of problems can be eliminated by having guardrails in your life, wearing a seatbelt. You know what I mean? Like, that's so common sense. If you wear a seatbelt every single time, you're going to help your life. If not, the best thing that happens is nothing happens. But the second to worst thing that happens is you survive a wreck. Wear the seatbelt. Sometimes it's that simple. All right, let's go number 2. Create processes that lead to great decisions. Great decisions what I found actually come from positioning yourself to be able to make a great decision. The harder, I love the saying, it's like the harder I work, the luckier I get. And I found this, I'll give you an example. I had this one sales rep that was with us for 2.5, 3 years, and he was consistently the best sales rep. Gosh, it sucked when we lost him. And he was fantastic. But what we found is he created a simple process that he follows every day, that when we get out of training, he initially calls only the fresh leads for 45 minutes straight. But what he did is he realized that the leads that were 6 to 12 months older, the bulk of the sales reps never called. They never called because they were old leads. So what he would do is he boxed out a 30 to 45 minute period in the afternoon between his appointments to only call old leads and utilize a different pitch with a new offer that would incentivize him to get on. And all of a sudden, his first month he did this, he didn't tell anybody, he was just trying to close deals, right? And he ends up closing 4 or 5 more deals than he had previous months. And other people were closing, And we asked him what it was. And 4 of his deals, which is like $150,000 to $180,000 in revenue deals, which is 15, 20 grand in commission for him, were all old leads that no one had called. And a lot of these deals were easy. They just failed credit with everybody that called them originally, with other companies and with us. And now their credit was fixed and they're like, I'm ready to go. Other people, they were traveling and they weren't ready, or they had just moved into the home and now they're ready to sign up and do the deal. And so just that process, think about it. A decision could have gone to, I'm going to call for 5 more minutes. And he calls these 10 leads and it was that one that made him 5 grand, 10 grand. So that was a great one decision. But what did that come from? A process that he set up. You have to operate in process, and that's where the compounding results happen. I can tell you I love relating stuff back to content, because I found that the secret to branding and marketing and social media and compounding success in running a business as well is just doing the right behaviors over and over and over and over again, and then great things suddenly happen. And the times I saw the most explosive growth, not only in my business, but just on social media, was when I continued to make content even when I did not feel like it. And I followed a deal, like when I grew the most on social media, when I went on Instagram from 28,000 to 250,000 on Instagram. Now it's over 500, but I did that drastic of an increase in 1 year. The only change that I did was I started posting 2 to 3 short form reels on all platforms. And the first month, nothing happened. 2 weeks after that, so 6 weeks in, nothing happened. Next thing you know, right after I was going to an in-person podcast, I posted a video that I did not think was that good. It was not my favorite. And by the time I was done with the podcast, it already had 150,000 views. By that night, it was already at 1 million. And within 2 to 3 days, I was already at 100,000 followers. And then that led my podcast to go viral on everything. And I was ranked 19 top business podcasts, and number 5 in India, number 17 or 18 in the UK and Australia, all these crazy things. And all it took was posting consistently every single day, and then bam, it happens. My decision to upload it, maybe it was the right time, maybe it was the right video, maybe it was right before I walked in to do the topic. I said it this way because I heard this podcast or I had this experience at work. Think about how many perfect little tiny decisions had to play out to have that compounding result. I had done social media and had stuff for 2, 3, 4 years prior, like actively. And none of it had that much success as that one decision. What happened? Process. So a great book I want you guys to read that's fantastic, one of my favorites, is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It's such a fast read. You can find it online for free also. But compounding, your life compounds in either a positive or negative way based on your actions. And this can do with finances, relationships, And it's so crazy how fast things change and the ripple effect of what ends up happening in your life. And you got to have consistent daily systems that you follow that are led by discipline instead of motivation. Not everything is this crazy decision. You know, Jeff Bezos talks about this. He says, I only like to make anywhere between 2 to 3 important decisions a day. And he talks about how his mornings he putters and he's slow because he wants to be in the right mindset. When he was in founder mode and it was the first couple of years of business, obviously that's completely different. But as you go up in life, we're not making these consequential decisions all the time. The decisions could be, let's go eat here instead of here. It's so small. And so setting up policies that shape your life is important. Think about people. You're like, I'm only going to be around people that have high integrity, that are successful, hardworking, and don't talk bad about people. And and let's say they have the same religion as you or the same moral value, whatever is important to you. I'm not going to tell you what is. Is that going to prevent every wrong person? No. But if you just give everybody a chance for no reason, just because they're a nice person, are you probably going to have more difficult people in your life? Most likely statistically. That's why knowing what you want and what is acceptable in your life is so important and will save the bulk of the stress that you could have. Right? Number 3, train your subconscious what to believe. Remember we were talking about subconscious decision makings and how sometimes we'll self-sabotage a situation or an opportunity out of protection, out of past experiences. A lot of us, and I know this was the case for myself, I didn't come from wealth. I know a lot of you guys didn't, and maybe you did, but you have other subconscious beliefs that actually cause you to sabotage your decision-making skills. What I've learned is you don't want to leave what you feel to chance based off of all the experiences you had. Meaning you worked hard and this bad thing happened, that was good, this was bad, this person was toxic, and so this is just the way you are. Life doesn't have to be that way. You can train your brain to think a certain way and to believe things differently than what you currently believe right now. And the same reason why someone messaged me, or maybe it was on an Instagram live or something, he said, Grant, how do I get rid of these negative thoughts? Like, how do I handle them when they come? And what I told them is those thoughts are there because of programming. Whether it was from your mom, whether it was from you just being a good person and working hard and dealing with the problems of life, you started programming your mind. That's how you think. And eventually what happens is your brain gets trained enough that those become the core beliefs that it has. The problem with that is while you can still make good decisions, while good things can still occur, that core subconscious belief that you're not enough, that money's the root of evil, I'll never have a good relationship, or this type of person is always bad, people in this city are no good. You tell yourself these things enough, you're going to have confirmation bias, which means if you think, let's say, let's say I can't find the right manager. Every manager in this market just isn't good. Every person you interview, you meet, and you hire, your brain is going to be looking for the negatives to confirm the biases that you have. So you have to protect your mind. I remember when my first sales job was selling DirecTV in Walmarts. And there was this one part in Orange County, and God, it was Laguna Niguel. And I would go to the Walmart or Best Buy in that area, and they generally do have really good credit in that area. But I would over and over and tell myself and talk, and I'd say, it's like everyone there has perfect credit and wants to sign up. If I had a girl I was dating, I would just say, yeah, it was great. Everyone has great credit there. If I was on the phone with my brother, I'd say everyone has great credit there. I would tell that to my boss at the time, and he'd kind of giggle and laugh, but he'd kind of let it slide. Maybe he knew what I was doing. I was making that belief in my head so much so my brain would find the right people who were interested and did have great credit, which I needed to close them on DirecTV. So you want to put these things in your head. Now, how do you do this? Number 1, let's change the damn words that's going into our head. The easiest and most efficient way to do this is through affirmation. When you wake up, And when you're going to sleep, your brain quietly enters into a theta state. That is almost the same thing as opening the hood to your car where you can actually see and get into the engine. You can't change the engine of the car while it's driving. The car has to be parked, many times lifted up, and you have to work on the engine. You have to change the components of the car so the car drives more efficiently, faster, better, whatever you're trying to achieve. So what we want to do here is we want to utilize affirmations that align with how we want our brain to think. Let's say that you lack self-esteem and confidence. If those are the case, you probably have, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if they like me. Think about how many times we've said that. Many times so much we're our worst enemy. Instead, let's say, I am confident. So many times till your ears freaking bleed. Let's say I have extremely high self-esteem. I am successful. And the second you wake up, boom, I'm successful, I'm successful, I'm successful. And it's going to feel very repetitive. And you're like, why am I doing this? But you do it enough, day 2, day 3, day 14, whatever, however long it takes, you're going to notice that those negative thoughts don't occur as much as they do. You're going to notice that when you walk into the restaurant, when you walk into the meeting, usually you're a little bit more nervous, but now you're fine. You want to control those habits. One thing I've done to make sure that every time I'm on a podcast, this is solo, but you can see this, I'm doing this off the top of my head. I have no teleprompter, I have notes here, but I don't look down much, is I've had to train myself early on when I started the podcast that I didn't know how to edit, and I still don't. I have editors now, but when I started, I just didn't have them. I just uploaded it. So what I figured out is I have to talk perfectly for 20 minutes or I have to start over again. And so I started telling myself every time I speak, whether it's in front of a crowd, whether it's a small group, whether it's a team meeting, whether it's a deal, whether it's a podcast, I say this one thing. Every time I bat 1,000. Every time I speak, it has to be perfect and it will be better than the last one. And I refuse to ever admit any nerves, any this, any that. So much so that I kid you not, I have zero nerves. I just saw my mom in Houston. And she goes, my mom's very loving and giving. She's just like, Grant, let me know if you need any help coming up with ideas. And I'm like, well, Mom, that's the easy part. She's like, that's crazy. And I'm like, well, that's the easy part. I've just trained my mind so much to say I can go on a dime. If they tell me I got to give a speech in front of a lot of people, boom, I'm going to do it. That's not because I was just perfectly born that way. It's because I told myself that so many times that failure is not an option. And eventually you get pretty good. That's what we have to start doing. But you have to be consistent. Remember, that ties into the process aspect. Okay. Next is through meditation. I think this is the best way. And I've talked about this on the episode where I discussed manifestation. And I've actually really worked at this year to really change my core beliefs. Growing up, I remember my family not allowing us to get sodas when we were going to a fast food because they wanted to save money. I remember people saying, hey, we got to save, Grant. You don't know, blah, blah. And they project this stress. It wasn't their fault. They were just dealing with it. So I had those same fears. So I had to reprogram my mind to do this. I did this through meditation. So a good, easy 15-minute meditation where you can reprogram your subconscious, no matter, and this doesn't have to be finances. This could be relationship, family, confidence, whatever, is the first 5 minutes, focus on breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And each time, visualize your breath going in and out, and just focus on your breath. Now, as you continually do this, about 20 to 30 seconds in, you're going to feel your body kind of relax. You might even start feeling a little tingling sensation in your body. By the time it's about 3 to 5 minutes, that's when your brain has kind of rested, your conscious mind has shut off, and now your subconscious mind, you're now entering the theta state, is opening up. This is what we were talking about with the vehicle, where the car opens up, or the engine opens up. At this point, now utilize affirmations. So let's really just drive in there what we want our brain to believe. There are opportunities all around me. I'm a genius. I'm creative. Whatever you want to say. Train that brain. Then, after about 8 to 10 minutes, visualize your life like a movie on how you want to be played out. Remember, we were talking about, okay, you want to improve your self-esteem. have a short movie per se of you walking into meetings confident and closing this deal, or going up to that girl, going up to that guy, or meeting that person, or making this incredible decision, or your business being successful. You're like, well, why would I do this? Because think about it. If your core belief is that you're confident and you're going to find the right partner, you're going to find the right person to make a deal with, you're going to hire the right employee for your job, and you're visualizing that and you're expecting it, that when you make the call, when you send the email, when you send the text, when you walk into the meeting, think about your body language, your energy, your confidence. They will feel it. Why? Because your core belief is that those things are going to happen. You're going to talk completely different than the old version of yourself that said, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this business back up. I don't know if I'll ever be financially. Think about the difference and the confidence. And that's why when you see people become successful, sometimes it looks like everything they do everything they touch turns to gold. It's because they've reprogrammed and rewired their brain to have these core beliefs. And that's why it's just so much, it's contagious. People want to be a part of it. And that's how you ultimately make better decisions. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, you can find me on all my social media platforms at Grant Mitt. If you guys are a business owner, I'm going to drop a couple links below for any guidance or help that you guys can. Resources, I have one-on-one training that I work with a group of entrepreneurs to scale their business, and other training resources. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again for episode 102. Thanks, guys.